Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Hello, welcome to the show. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. This is the Literacy for All radio show. We're on WS Radio, and our guest today is an adult basic education. I got to learn how to say that. Adult basic education teacher from New England, actually the New England Training and Upgrading Fund. George Demetrion, welcome to the show, George.
Well, thank you, Jose.
So glad to have you. Now, we're talking to you. You're in Hartford, Connecticut?
Right. Yeah, we moved back. I'm in Hartford.
Very good. How's the weather today?
Cool. Like it's about 26, 27 degrees, and last night was real windy. It's not too bad now, but it's not. Well, I heard Los Angeles had snow the other day.
Yeah, we're all getting some of that. You're breaking up a little bit, but let's see if we can stabilize, and we'll do the best we can.
Okay.
But it's not too bad. Anyway, so glad to have you on the show, George. Folks in the National Adult Literacy Network know your name. I know your name, and more folks will know you after we have our conversation today about your work in adult literacy, what you've been doing just on the ground level, but also the work that you've done that's been more theoretical, and you've done some writing really on the larger topic of the political culture and how it affects adult literacy and education in the U.S. So tell us what you're doing now, George.
Right now I'm working as an adult basic education teacher at the 1199 Training Fund, which is a program that is related to the SEIU union. So I work with people at the AB level, getting them ready for the NADP test, which is, I think it's the National External Diploma Program, which is gives them a high school equivalency, but it's a little different than the GED. But it's so my job is I get them into the program, to do the basic skills with reading, comprehension, math, and writing. So that's what I'm working on. And then I also work at the Capital Community College in their Academic Success Center as a writing tutor. So that's what I do these days.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, even though folks have the goal of getting a diploma, the students that you're seeing, they're coming in as low as a, second, third grade level of reading and writing?
No, we're seeing them higher. And when I was working at Literacy Volunteers, they were coming in at that level. But this level, they're probably coming in around fifth grade, maybe sixth grade. They're scoring in the based on the CASAS test in the 210s, 220s. And my goal is to get them up, 10, 15 points in the math and then in reading comprehension, and also being able to write, a 5-paragraph essay.
And what is bringing these particular individuals to the program, George? When I think about just the additional things I want to do, I go home, I fall asleep in my lounge chair, and here are folks who are right. They're driven. What's motivating them?
Well, it's challenging, that's for sure. We work with a highly specific population. These are folks who are members of the SEI union who work in, for the most part, nursing homes. Most of them are certified nursing assistants, and so they have a tough work schedule. They're working either in the morning or in the afternoons, and they're helping the most frail and elderly people in our country to live decently in a nursing home. And so they're tired and they're hardworking, but they want to move forward in their lives. And these aren't young people for the most part. I mean, they may be in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s even. And they've raised children, and many of their children are highly educated, going to college or working professionally. But these are for the most part, first entry immigrants, many from the Caribbean islands, although we get some folks from Ghana and other Nigeria. We have some folks from Nigeria. So these are, first-generation immigrants who are hardworking. They've gotten their green cards or citizenship, and they're working, as nursing aides. Sometimes they're doing other jobs. They're raising kids. They're raising families. They're raising grandchildren. And yet they find time to do this because it's their time in life to move forward. Some want to do it because they want another job. Some it's not quite as clear on that, but they want to get their high school diploma and get the education that they didn't have a chance to get in their home country or when they migrated to the States because they had to go to work.
It's an important message too. Just because we do tend to take education for granted, and we really shouldn't, given
right.
the work that we do in adult literacy, where you have individuals who are English speaking, who are from this country, and who
right.
didn't get the help that they need or didn't have the resources in their early years
right.
to get
right.
them where they want to be.
Right.
The health care field is actually. It's a career that a lot of folks have chosen, and I guess in the past
right.
there's been a perception that you really don't need to know a whole heck of a lot, but this is important work.
It is, and many of them do have a mission. I mean, many of the students I'm working with have developed really strong personal connections with their patients. They really mourn when they die. They care for them. They want them treated right, and they sometimes they spend a lot of extra time making sure these folks get the assistance they need at this time in their lives, where their lives are in such a fragile condition, and their own relatives may or may not be seeing them, and so oftentimes they become even close friends as well as helping them with basic bodily and daily needs. So it's a real intimate work and work that is not really regarded as important in our society, but it is. And so these folks come in with a high level of personal dignity and sense of purpose about their lives, and taking a lot of responsibility for their children's lives and their grandchildren, and they've worked hard to raise families and to support them financially and to take jobs that a lot of people wouldn't consider as a career, but many people have made a career of this, and it's important work in our society for this kind of for people to take on work like this, not only just to make ends meet, but to attain a sense of purpose and mission that they're doing. Many of the folks are religious, so they see it as the Lord's work that they're doing.
Right. So folks are coming in with their hearts and with their souls, and they want to do a better job. And are they, all of them, doing this voluntarily? Is it some of it mandatory?
No, this is their job.
Okay.
No, this is their. These are it's position. It's their jobs.
Yeah,
they're
but
their livelihood.
But in terms of the
oh, you mean
at the school? Yes, the work that you're doing.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I misunderstood you. Yes, for sure. They're doing this because they can. It's it's provided by it's part of the union benefit that the training fund provides the service to the worker, to the people who work in the nursing homes that have a contract with the 1199 training fund.
Okay.
And but they're doing this on their own time and voluntarily, for sure.
Very good, because we know, at least here I am in San Diego, and we know that there are folks who are also in the field. Again, they care and such, but they've also have found a way to get through the, let's say, the literacy testing aspect of the job, so that they are in jobs not having the skills that we'd like them to have, because they're caring for our grandparents or great-grandparents, whatever the case might be, and maybe one day caring for us, and they're having to kind of work under the radar because their reading skills aren't that good, and of course we want that to be easier for people to access, and so
right.
you're making it welcoming for them and successful for them.
Yeah, And they're doing. I mean, they can for the most part master the basic literacy needs of what they need on the, in the position. They might have to write small little notes or something, or read some things, but it's not. The literacy level that they need for their current positions is not necessarily that high. But if they want to advance in life and want to move forward with additional career options or just for personal interest, they need to increase their proficiency. And you can see that when they get to class, I mean, they do work hard. A little hesitant sometimes because, like right now, we're teaching a class doing something on writing. And one woman was nervous because she had never written before. And I said, well, do you text? She goes, yeah. I said, well, let's start one sentence at a time. Yeah. And so we find ways into it so that people can feel comfortable taking on the work. And they love to work together. When we do the math, they're doing the math together on the board and everything, and helping each other out. And, I mean, there's a whole camaraderie there, and that comes from who they are and their lives. Like in one of my classes, one of the students takes a Uber home and made it so that the other students in the class could go in the Uber with her to the ride home. So they just created an atmosphere where they're supporting each other and helping each other in class, but also beyond class as well.
Very good. Hey, George, I'm going to interrupt you. Believe it or not, we're at the end of our first segment, but we'll be back with you in just a few minutes, so hang on. And you've been listening to WS Radio, Literacy for All radio show, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
You take your smartphone almost everywhere you go. Now WSRadio.com can be there too. Search WS Radio in the Play Store for your Android devices or iTunes for Apple and download the WS Radio application. WSRadio.com on your phone and in your ear everywhere you go. Download the WS Radio application. Do it now. It's very easy. WSRadio.com.
Looking to be a successful entrepreneur? The virtual assistant industry continues to be a top choice for those looking to start their own business. The problem can be how to become a virtual assistant. Many turn to the Bible of the VA industry, the book, Virtual Assistant, the series, and it's the perfect guide for office managers, executive assistants, and other administrative professionals looking to make the transition from employee to successful business owner. Go to vatheseries.com to get your copy today.
Small businesses are the lifeblood of America's economy. Every Thursday, SBA Radio interviews industry professionals and is dedicated to provide small businesses with timely insights and innovations. Visit www.sbaradio.us for details.
Homeless veterans and their families are suffering and need our support, but many won't ask or don't know that help is within reach. Veterans Community Services is here to help. Amazingly, about 35% of the homeless in our neighborhoods are veterans with families. Low-income veterans or their friends are encouraged to contact Veterans Community Services and reach out for help with housing and other services. Call now, 800-974-9909.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children. After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world where children don't play, or dream, or imagine.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children, because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Donate cash, furniture, clothes, and other gently used household items to Father Joe's Villages and get a nice tax break in April. Every donation is tax deductible. Believe you can make a difference. Be Father Joe. Go to neighborhood.org or call 1-800-HOMELESS to donate today.
Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Jose Cruz. This is Literacy for All radio show. We are on WS Radio, and our guest is George Demetrion. We've been talking to George. He is a adult basic education teacher at the 1199 New England Training and Upgrading Fund. George, thank you for holding on while we went through the next segment. And we were talking about the work that you're doing with students who are in the healthcare field, and we know that all of them have a story to tell, and it's just so inspiring and good for you to be working on that level. Some of us in the field, people like myself, have kind of gotten away from the field service aspect of it, and we're doing things more administratively and with coalitions and such, and not so much with the students. So you've stayed in touch, but you actually you go all the way across the spectrum of the whole idea of adult literacy and education. You've actually written a book, Conflicting Paradigms in Adult Literacy Education, and it addresses the things that need to take place in our country to really make change happen in a way, systemic change happen, so that we're not dealing with the things that we're dealing with as a nation that has 20%, 16 to 20% of the adults being at the lowest levels of literacy. But you've looked at the whole field and the three, I would say, schools of thought or three approaches to literacy and how they maybe conflict with each other and have and are affected by the political culture. Can you say more about your thoughts on this, George?
Yeah, sure. Well, when I worked at Literacy Volunteers of America, the national organization, for a couple of years, and that's where I got the national perspective by working in the field with literacy agencies throughout the country. Until then, my research was focused on drawing a lot of information, a lot of insight from my local programming. So, after working at Literacy Volunteers, I began to think of the program about the field more broadly, and so I'm looking at three basic approaches as you had brought out. One is the participatory literacy approach, which is basically education from the bottom up. It draws on the philosophy of Paulo Freire. Yes. And builds on student knowledge, and so the whole idea is to build programming from the ideas that students have, and to create an atmosphere where you're building on not just their ability to read, but you're helping them learn the words so that they can know more about the world. So it's a bottom-up approach, and then what in many ways is viewed as the opposite approach is the functional literacy approach, where the idea is folks work at learning to read and write and do math in order to enter and stay proficient in the workplace. So there's an element there where it's learning to read to learn to work, and much policy-based focus is on the workforce.
We saw that.
Emphasis.
Yeah, we've seen that change.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say we've seen that change happen. Yeah, absolutely. It used to be, we want everyone to read. Then it was, we want everybody to be a better worker. And so we need to prepare you for that. Yeah.
And then there's the literacy studies approach. It's a third approach, sort of in between, and that's where a lot of my work falls, where sure, people come for specific reasons. They want to get better jobs. They want to be able to, read their children's messages from school and help their kids with their schoolwork. They want to be able to access community resources, but they also have highly individual reasons. I remember in one of my classes, when I was working at Literacy Volunteers, one of the students wanted to read his own mail so no one would know his own business. I mean, we don't think about that. We can read our own mail, so no one has to know what we need. But this person had to have someone else read his own mail. So therefore, that person, he had to trust that person, and that person knew really things about him that he didn't want anyone else to know. So it's as simple as that sometimes, and it's as complex as being able to, get a job at a higher level. So there's a whole range of reasons why people want to learn, and there's no single reason, and no single reason why one area is intrinsically inherently better than another reason. There's a multiplicity of reasons why people want to learn to read, and a lot of my research comes out of trying to understand what that means pedagogically or educationally, and how the different schools of literacy play out in the broader political culture and the tensions that's provoked by working through those two dynamics. On the one hand, what reading, why people want to learn to read and write, and what the policy field is calling for. That what the policy field legitimates, what they view as legitimate reasons for supporting adult ed. And so there's a lot of tension there. That's why I call the book Conflicting Paradigms in Adult Literacy Education, and then the subtitle, In Quest of a U.S. Democratic Politics of Literacy. In quest, because we're not there yet.
Right.
But U.S. Democratic Politics of Literacy, because that's, in my view, where I would like to see the field go. But it's got a long way to go before it gets there, if it ever does.
Right, and so the finding some middle ground, some way that all of this plays together, plays harmoniously, is important because it affects funding, it affects resources, it affects why we fund literacy. That we do have on one end a concern for what's taking place in the workplace, and on the other end, just individuals who want to be able to, be a better mom and dad, be involved in their community. I mean, what do we value more? We see some conflict where it seems like there's an element out there that prefers an undereducated populace because they'll be underinformed, so maybe they're not as engaged civically in what's taking place in our society. Right.
Yeah, it's sort of like the policy rationale is it's a functional policy rationale. How do you provide justification for spending millions of dollars on adult education unless you can see a measurable outcome that is statistically significant, when many of the measures of literacy are so ephemeral, you can't measure them exactly, but you know them from the lives people lead. And part of the issue, part of the problem, and part of what initially drove this book was I was working through the whole issue of accountability and assessment, and challenging the notion that assessment had to be viewed from a statistical metaphor, where I didn't think that was sufficient, where just being able to translate literacy accomplishment on a numerical chart based on a score was it's useful information, but it's such a highly partial type of data that it occludes the broader life narratives that draw people to literacy programs and what they learn as a result of being in programs over a period of years. And that's what I've tried to track both in my work and in my research.
Well, are you still working on that, George? Because this was a battle we took on, a few decades ago. That so much of what we do, the progress is intangible. That how do you measure increased confidence and self-esteem and initiative, all of those things. And here we are. We're in the era of measurable outcomes. So I'm so glad that you've been an advocate for us in that regard. Where are you now? Where are we now? Where are we heading? We have about a minute and a half, so I'm having you talk about really deep and important work and a subject matter that's we're going to have you come back someday.
Sure. I don't know. I mean, I've made a shift in my own life. When I finished this book, I decided to go back and do some work in religious studies. So I wrote a couple of monographs on various aspects of Protestant theology. And in the meantime, I've written a couple of small articles in literacy, but I haven't done major work research. I've stayed active in the field. When I was in San Diego, I worked with homeless adults for about 4 years at Father Joe's Village.
Right.
And I was in their adult education center there, and I continued working in adult education programs. So I've continued my active work in the field. I've cut back on my research in the field.
Very good, very good. Well, George, I'm glad that you're being active. I plan on staying in touch with you. So glad to have you here in San Diego and working with us, and glad to have you on the show and sharing some of your perspective on the hands-on work that you're doing, as well as the research that you've done in the past on our behalf. So really do appreciate the time that you've given us.
Well, and I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you about all this a little bit, and we'll talk to you later.
Very good. And folks, George Demetrion, he was our guest here on Literacy for All radio show. We're so glad to have him. You've been listening to WS Radio. We are the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
Nowadays, internet devices are an integral part of your home. Everyone in your family has a smartphone, tablet, or a computer. Life is easier knowing that all your devices are secured and your family can surf the internet carefree. ESET Multi-Device Security Pack does just that. One license for all your devices. With ESET, it's simple to stay protected and save money. Enjoy safer technology with ESET Multi-Device Security Pack at ESET.com. That's ESET.com.
On the internet, your business's reputation can be unjustly destroyed in an instant. Don't wait for that to happen. Building and marketing your 5-star reputation can increase your business by as much as 19%. Take control of your reputation and have the 5-star reputation you deserve with Reputation Marketing Solutions by DSI Development. Become the go-to company by visiting 5starrepmarketing.com. The number 5starrepmarketing.com.
Hey, it's Catherine from Listen Local Radio. Moe's Guitars has proudly served the San Diego music community since 1975. Specializing in guitars, basses, mandolins, banjos, and ukuleles, they buy, sell, trade, and consign. If you're looking for lessons, repairs, accessories, and cool gear, you found the right place. Located in downtown La Mesa Village, stop by and check out their digs or visit moesguitars.com or their Facebook page. mozeguitars.com, 619-698-1185.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McCullough brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcCullough.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McCulloughe. ChristopherMcCullough.com. Nowadays, internet devices are an integral part of your home. Everyone in your family has a smartphone, tablet, or a computer. Life is easier knowing that all your devices are secured and your family can surf the internet carefree. ESET Multi-Device Security Pack does just that. One license for all your devices. With ESET, it's simple to stay protected and save money. Enjoy safer technology with ESET Multi-Device Security Pack at ESET.com. That's ESET.com. Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McAuliffe brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcAuliffe.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McAuliffe. ChristopherMcAuliffe.com.